Okay, I'm going to give a quick response to Jonathan Burris. He has a video where he's talking about Arianism. Is there Arianism within the Vaticanus and Sinaiticus? Now, it's kind of interesting because he wants people to have faith in them. Okay, and these are two manuscripts that disagree with each other 3,000 times. They were always told that they were the oldest and best manuscripts, but there's a lot of criticism now, and it kind of looks more like Vaticanus is a medieval production, and meanwhile, Sinaiticus may have been made in the 1800s under Constantine Simonides, his uncle Benedict of Athos. Now, he brings up a character who asked a question, and essentially, I want to kind of make some distinctions here. They argued about John chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And talked about Arianism. Now, the New World Translation has a reading where it says was a God instead of saying and was God. That is something that they decided to do independently. However, when it comes to the text type, most of their text was pretty well done under the Westcott and Hort text. So let me see if I can find this here. All right. Okay. So I'm reading from, well, this is like the earliest edition of my book. Um, but it says, I'm quoting from the Watchtower Society. Why is it missing from the New World Translation? Page 88 through 92, February the 1st, 1962. And it says, why are such expressions missing from the New World Translation? In brief, it is because they appear in the received text upon which the King James Version is based, but not in the Westcott and Hort text upon which the New World Translation is based. Both of which texts, incidentally, are in the original Greek. As late as yeah, as late as 1734, J.A. Bingle of Tübingen, Germany, and that's German, so I don't know how to pronounce it, apologized for again printing the received text, um, doing so because he could not publish a text of his own. Neither the publisher nor the pulpit would have stood for it. So the position of the Jehovah's Witnesses was to side with the Westcott and Hort text. And there are many places, I'm going to say, I'm just giving a response. So, like, I'd have to go back and look stuff up. But I'm saying somewhere in the area of hundreds of places where, the received text might say the Lord Jesus Christ, and then it just says Jesus or Jesus Christ, basically lowering all these statements about Jesus as Lord. There's a shaving of all these exaltations. Um, that makes it a lot easier if you're somebody who does not believe in the deity of Christ. You say, okay, well, this thing's so much better because it doesn't exalt the deity of Christ. So that's what's going on there. Now, obviously, the original autographs, the actual ones, are going to be teaching the deity of Christ. And if somebody is trying to alter it, they've got to be sneaky about it. So they're not going to take down everything. But let me go ahead and look here. I'm going to bring this up to you. This is John chapter 1. And the New American Standard that I'm used to using was 1995. So, New American Standard, John 1:18. Okay, instead of focusing on the John 1 through 3, it says, "No one has seen God at any time. The only begotten God who is in the bosom of the Father, he has explained him." So, this idea that he's the only begotten God, now to be begat is to birth. So, in other words, the deity was born from God. All right. That is the position of Arianism. Okay. Um, and yes, the New World Translation does want to go with that. Is it possible to pollute with these things? Yes. In the version Good News for Modern Man, or today's English version, the translator on that committee was a guy named Robert Bratcher. Now, give me a second. Let me just find what I've got from this guy. He's got several statements where he does not believe in inerrancy, but this statement is very interesting. It says, Jesus Christ would not enjoy omniscience. That's the ability to know all things. That is an attribute of God. ... Jesus did not claim the Father to be one, which would be absurd. So now this is a translation. He was in Brazil at the time. He originally spoke this statement in Brazilian at the O Jornal Batista, or the Baptist Journal, in July 9th, 1953. And that's from the quote was found from M.L. Moser Jr., The Devil's Masterpiece, page 7. So you have a translator who is obviously not believing in the deity of Christ in modern times. And, they let that one through. And that was a Southern Baptist published Bible version. Okay, very popular, especially in the 1980s. But when you look at these different texts, there are issues and they pop up. It's not that every single one of them was Jehovah's Witness, and therefore the Jehovah's Witness made their, no, we're not saying that. That's what they did with the New World Translation. But that there is corruptions in Sinaiticus and Vaticanus. Let me see here. I've got another passage I wanted to go over with you. Actually, this is a quote from Eusebius. I'll tell you a little bit about Eusebius in just a minute, and we'll kind of put this in a better perspective. Let's see here. Okay. Ooh, it's a big long one. Basically, it's talking about early church heretics. This was in Eusebius' Ecclesiastical History, Book 8, Chapter 28, translated by C.F. Cruz. And I guess I'll just do a couple of these. In a work written by one of the authors against the heresy of Arianism, which Paul Samosata, did I get that right? Yeah, all right. And again, attempted among us, there was a narrative well adapted to the history we are now investigating. They assert, said he, that all these primitive men and apostles themselves both received and taught these things as they are now taught by them, and that the truth of the gospel was preserved until the times of Vincent of Victor, who was the 13th bishop of Rome from Peter, but that from his successor, Zephyrinus, the truth was mutilated, and perchance what they might be credible were it not that the Holy Scriptures um, contradict them. And then also, there are marks of certain brethren, older than Victor, times which they wrote in defense of the truth and against heretics, that prevailing, uh, let's see here, I speak of Justus and Miltiades and Tatian and Clement and many others in which the deity of Christ is asserted. Now, what we're dealing with here is that in the early centuries, there was already contentions of false teachers warping the scriptures. I think that one, it was kind of where the false teachers were kind of switched around, but nevertheless, the issue is that these guys are basically there early on for the printing of those manuscripts. Now, one thing that I think some conclusions that independent Baptists and many other groups have jumped to at times is it's not all like, that Arianism itself was the big boogeyman. Okay. I would think that it had more to do with the subordinationist. You see, Arius was a product of the subordination teachings of Origen. And Origen was the key figure behind the Alexandrian school, and the Alexandrian school was key in the establishment of the Alexandrian text. So when you have that, then you have these things where they don't have to necessarily give up on all divinity, but there's just some where it's just kind of obvious. So 1 John 5:7, and these three are one. They don't want an equality in the Godhead. That's not subordinationism. So it doesn't have to be a full, well, Jesus was a creation type of argument. Now, First Timothy 3:16, where it says that uh, God was manifested in flesh. The Alexandrian says he was manifested in flesh. Well, that's great. So was I. It just really takes all the point out of that quotation. And it's obvious that if you don't want Jesus to be full in his deity, you don't want to say something like that. Now, there's also issues of orthodoxy today. So there could be issues of orthodoxy yesterday, but one of which always kind of hit me was when Thomas is giving his quote. He says, "My Lord and my God," saying, "Okay, you are, Jesus, your Lord and your God." But in the message reading, it kind of switches it just a little bit where it says, "My Master," boom, "my God." And when it does that, then it sounds as if Thomas was just swearing instead of confessing. There's other passages in the message that are problematic, and I'm not planning on seeing Jonathan really deal with this stuff because it seems like he's on a bent, and he's not really going on the big picture. But let me kind of hit that really quick if we can find that. Okay. So in the King James it says in Colossians 1:19, "For it pleased the Father that in him should all the fullness dwell." Okay, so the fullness of deity is within Christ. It says in the message, "So spacious is he, so roomy, that everything of God finds its proper place in him without crowding. Right? He's roomy. That's very kind of irrational and esoteric and, sounds good and groovy, dude, but just there is no statement anymore that the fullness of deity dwells within Jesus Christ. So, okay, there we go again. All right, so you have that. Of course, the United Bible Societies, the Trinitarian Bible Society split off from them because they were being overrun by Unitarians. And Unitarians were people who denied the Trinity. Eventually, they denied most of the faith. Okay, they became a cult, but they were very popular, powerful, and influential back then. So, something to think about, and I'll catch you later.